What's up, everybody? It is Peaceful here. We are going to be talking about the new card releasing today in Marvel Snap, Nico Minoru. If you enjoy my content, if you like the videos I'm putting out, please make sure you are subscribed, hit that like button, and let me know down below what you think of this video. It's going to be a little bit different than the content I normally do, and I'd love to know if this is something you'd like to see more of every week, or if you'd like me to go a different direction with the new card releases. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and start talking about Nico. Nico Minoru is a 1-cost 2-power card that says on reveal, after you play your next card, cast a spell. Now, what are the spells for Nico Minoru? There are actually 7 of them. I've grouped them into 2 groups. The really good ones and the ones that are a little less good. Though I honestly personally don't think any of her spells are bad. So let's go ahead and get into it. The best of the best spells. So you have here the first one we're going to go over: after you play your next card, destroy it and draw 2 cards. The first 3 here that I list, I think, are pretty far beyond the other ones. They're just very, very, very good in pretty much every situation. You're never really going to mind these too much. Um, this one here is incredibly powerful for 2 types of decks. One, destroy decks, because you want to destroy your cards anyway. So destroying it and getting to draw 2 cards from your deck is just all upside. There's just no downside to this. You're going to want this one basically every single game you play. And then decks that are looking to draw the majority of the cards in their deck, but decks looking to set up a combo, this one is going to be very, very, very good. So keep an eye out for decks that you're building that are like that can use this and maybe a couple of the other ones, because this is definitely a reason to run Nico in your decks. Next up, we have Forge. This is basically just Forge, but she has 2 power instead of 1. So it says after you play your next card, give it +2 power. Again, this is going to go into a lot of different decks. There's just a lot of flexibility here. Something like Deadpool, something like, Brood, Mr. Sinister. These cards work really well with this. There's going to be a lot of decks you can build that this will work well with. And it's just generically a powerful card. There's a lot of cards that benefit from having more power. So, things like Lady Deathstrike. So this is just a really good one. This is one that's it's maybe not quite as powerful as the one I just talked about and the one we're about to talk about, but it's just generically always going to be pretty good. So definitely something to look out for when you're playing Nico. Watch for this one because there's definitely a lot of synergies to build around with this one. Next up, on reveal, after you play your next card, add a copy of it to your hand. So, and this is my assumption based on how all the other copy effects in Marvel Snap work. Remember, we get an exact copy. So something like Kitty Pryde, something like, again, Deadpool. You've heard me mention him a few times. We'll talk about him more later. Something like a buff Jeff. So maybe you're playing an Elsa deck. You play this into a Jeff in a full lane. You get a 6-power Jeff to your hand that you can then play and make a 9-power Jeff. That's really, really good. Or, I mean, you're just playing an Elsa deck. You play this on 1, Elsa on 2. That's pretty busted. That's gonna win you a lot of games of Marvel Snap. That's a very powerful interaction. So this one's definitely up there. I think this one and the Destroy Draw 2 are probably the 2 best ones. They're just very, very good. Next up, on reveal, after you play your next card, it becomes a demon. Again, this one is just generically very, very powerful. If you're playing a deck with a lot of 1-drops, you're going to get a ton of value off of this. Now, the reason this one is a little bit lower for me is because it does really require you to have another 1-cost card to really fully get the benefit of it. I mean, transforming a 2-cost card into a 6-power demon isn't awful, but the way when the areas where this one really shines is when you get to turn your, let's say, your Space Stone into a 6-power demon. That's very, 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 very strong. So definitely look out for this one in a deck with a lot of 1-drops. You can definitely take advantage of this one. I mean, basically paying 2 total for 8 power is just insane. Again, I mean, look, that's kind of what, it's like a little mini Elsa all on its own. That's giving you a ton of power outfit for a 1-cost card. Next up, we have what I call the other spells. There's just a few of the spells that I thought were a little bit worse than the rest, but still pretty good. This one says, on reveal, after you play your next card, move it 1 location to the right. So this is kind of interesting. It's like, I don't know if this is intentional because of just the flavor of the cards, but this is the opposite way most of the other cards move stuff. So you got Iron Fist and Heimdall that both move cards locate 1 location to the left. This one's moving to the right, which is kind of cool. And again, this one's situationally, this will be the one you want the most because there's going to be locations in the middle or the right that you just can't get into otherwise. But overall, this one is just a little bit lower power level unless you're running specifically a move deck. Then this is looking pretty good, right? Then you're pretty excited about this one. You're pretty happy with this one. But It's just a little bit more situational than a lot of the other abilities listed above. So it's just a little bit worse, but still very situationally very good. Next up, we have on reveal after you play your next card, replace that card's location. This one's really cool. We did get confirmation from the devs, like, yes, this is basically Scarlet Witch or Reality Stone, something like that. But what's cool about this one is it can impact locations like Nowhere or a location that Cosmo is in, which is really cool because it actually, even though the card you play in that location's on reveal won't go off if the on reveals are blocked in that location, or it doesn't care about the effects going on in the card in the location the card is played in. It just cares where the card is played. So this can get around things like Nowhere. If you're a deck that's particularly damaged by having a Nowhere in play, this can help you get around it. So again, this is a spell where not quite as good as a lot of the other ones, but situationally, this is going to be the one you want because there's a location you need to change. So again, just really nice to have in the toolbox that Nico offers you. Next up, this is the last one and probably the worst one, but still not terrible. On reveal, after you play your next card, double this card's power. So this card meaning Nico. So this will turn Nico into a 4 power card when you play your next card. Now, this does have synergies with a lot of things like Forge and stuff that you might want to run in decks you're running Nico in already. So this one's not a zero sum. There's going to be times where this is the best one, just like a lot of the other ones. There's times where you're going to, let's say get 3 or 4 extra power on Nika before you play her. You're going to, or by the time you play her, then you play the next card and she doubles to like 8, 9, 10, or not 9, but 8 or 10 power. And that's just a really strong, really powerful tempo for a 1 drop. Getting a 1 cost 8 power or 1 cost even 6 power, just like for free, basically just for playing another card. That's really, really good. Like that's the thing that I think that people are missing. I've heard a lot of people say Nico just looks like another Snowguard to them. The issue was Snowguard, neither of Snowguard's effects felt worth running her specifically for them because there wasn't any real reward or synergy for it. Nico's spells all have synergies with different decks and I really feel like she's going to slot into a bunch of different decks simply because she offers you so much of a toolbox of effects that you don't always want, but there's times where you really are going to want them. They're going to be very good. And I wouldn't be shocked to see Nico change at some point to a 2 cost card or something because this is just so much power and utility in a 1 drop. So let's go ahead and talk about how are we going to maximize Nico, how to make Nico good. And one of the things I want to emphasize is don't just throw Nico into every deck. You need a deck that uses multiple of her spells very, very well. So don't play her in a deck that's looking just for the draw to destroy because you're going to be disappointed. You need to play a deck that can use at least, I would say, 3 of the spells, preferably 3 to 5 of them pretty well. And the other 2 are just kind of like situationally good. I think there's a lot of decks out there that qualify for this, and we'll get into those on the next slide. The other thing you kind of need to make Nico very, very strong is having a low flexible curve, which even though I do think she's going to be pretty good in Thanos, I don't think Thanos is actually the best home for because a lot of times Thanos, the last couple turns, you really want to be playing big cards, and that's where she's not quite as strong. But if you have a deck that can afford to basically play her on any turn of the game and be okay, this is going to be a very, very, very strong card because at some point you're going to hit the nuts. You're going to hit the exact one you want for the current situation. You're very likely to, given 6 turns of a game, and you're just going to pop off and get that super value off of Nico, say with maybe the copy effect or something like that, if that's what you're looking for. So look for a deck with a very low flexible curve and one that can use multiple spells well, and that's really all you need to make Nico good. I think people are I think people are drastically underestimating this card. It is going to be one of the best cards we've gotten probably all month. This might be, other than Elsa, this is probably the best card coming out this month. And I cannot emphasize enough how excited I am to play with it. Let's go ahead and get into some of the specific synergies that this card has. So you've heard me mention a few times with a few of the different abilities. I do think the Deadpool style of Destroy is going to love this card. Going to love this card. You have the Destroy effect, you have the copy effect, you have the Forge effect, which gives the +2. All of these are very, very good. Not to mention the Demon one's fine. The double Nico's power one's fine because of Venom. Both of those help feed Venom in a pinch. It's just really, really low cost, high power output for that deck. Thanos, you see, I have Thanos listed here. I do think everyone is talking about Thanos in this. I do think it'll be very good for Thanos. It's going to make Thanos pop just a little bit more because of the toolbox that it offers. But at the same time, like I said, Thanos likes to play bigger cards in the final turn. So it's going to take a little bit different style of Thanos, I think, to maximize Nico, which you know me, I love Thanos. I'm excited to build around and see what we can figure out. But I do think it's not quite as amazing in Thanos as people are thinking. I think there's going to be better homes like Deadpool and Elsa decks. I think if you're playing an Elsa deck, you love probably 4 or 5 of these effects, like even the move one is excellent for Elsa decks because you can fill up a lane, get that card, the Elsa buff, and then it bounces it out for you. That's incredibly powerful. Very, very good. You know, there's just going to be so many little things that this card does for that deck. Maybe you're a little cramped for space, so you use the Destroy Draw 2 just to find that extra, you know, maybe Angela, or you're still looking for Elsa. You can destroy one of your lower cost cards, like a Nightcrawler or something. Go looking for that Elsa, get that extra value. It's going to be very good. I think this is going to be played in your traditional Elsa move, Elsa Loki, these style of decks, because Loki loves the card draw because it helps make your Loki bigger, helps you find your Loki. There's just going to be a lot of decks that can use this card. You see the last thing listed here is move. I think move is a pretty obvious one because you have both the power buffer, you have the draw 2 to help you find your pieces, and you have the move, the one that actually moves a card. So that's just all these things combined together. You're going to be able to find a spot where this helps you in your move deck, which also just happens to have a very low curve for the most part. So these are some good examples of decks that have really high synergy with Nico. I think this is going to be a very powerful card. In the metagame, I would be shocked not to see it slotted into a lot of the major meta decks because I just think that the toolbox of abilities that it offers you for such a low cost is going to be too much to give up for most decks. So that all said, I highly recommend picking this card up. I will be picking it up as soon as I can, be streaming with it tomorrow morning. Obviously, with my schedule and the way it works out, I won't be able to stream today when she releases, unfortunately, but I will be on Wednesday playing some Nico Minoru deck. So definitely come hang out. Let me know in the comments what you think, whether you agree or disagree, whether you'll be picking her up, and what decks you're looking forward to play with her in. And I will catch y'all later. Thank you so much.